Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlights inspiring stories of social service, water conservation and sports in his monthly radio broadcast. General N.S. Raja Subramani takes over as Chief of Defence Staff. Admiral Krishna Swaminathan is new Navy Chief. Iran says no deal with the US until its rights are secured as President Trump toughens terms of a peace deal. Myanmar blast at a building storing mining explosives kills more than 45 people. And in badminton, Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty win men's doubles title at Singapore Open. Right, let's get you first up news from the West Asian conflict. Iran has signaled that it is not ready to compromise in its ongoing negotiations with the United States. Tehran says any agreement must fully protect Iranian rights and interests before it can be accepted. The remarks come as reports suggest that U.S. President Donald Trump has sent back a revised proposal with tougher conditions.
As attention remains focused on Iran-US peace negotiations, Iran's chief negotiator Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf said on Sunday that Tehran will not accept any deal that fails to protect the rights and interests of the Iranian people. In a television statement, Ghalibaf said Iran does not trust US promises and will only approve an agreement once it is satisfied that its key demands have been met. His remarks come as indirect talks continue over a framework to end the conflict that began on February 28th.
The soldiers on the diplomatic front have absolute no trust in the enemy's words and promises. Only one criterion is to achieve tangible results before we fulfill our commitment in return. Until we are certain that the rights of the Iranian people have been secured, we will not approve any agreement. The guarantee behind this strategy is our own lives, which we hold in our hands, ready to sacrifice for the people of Iran.
Meanwhile, reports by the New York Times and Axios say US President Donald Trump has sent a revised proposal to Iran with tougher terms, although details have not been disclosed. The reports suggest Washington is seeking stronger guarantees on Iran's nuclear program and enriched uranium stockpile. Trump has reiterated that preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons remains a top priority. Tehran, however, says major differences remain and insists that sanctions relief and access to frozen assets are essential to any agreement. Talks are also unfolding amid tensions over the Strait of Hormuz, a key global oil shipping route. Iranian lawmakers are considering legislation to formalize Tehran's management of the waterway, while military officials say Iran maintains full control over transit through the strait. The latest developments could further delay a final agreement, with both sides continuing diplomatic efforts, even as Trump warns that military options remain available if negotiations fail. Ravindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
Now, Iran has resumed gas production at 3 offshore platforms in the South Pars gas field after output was halted because of disruptions caused by Israeli attacks on some onshore processing facilities. The Pars Oil and Gas Company's CEO told state news agency IRNA that the offshore platforms were not damaged. Gas from the platforms is now being redirected to other processing plants while repairs continue at affected facilities, including the Phase 14 refinery. In Lebanon, a dramatic shift is unfolding as Israeli forces extend their reach beyond the ceasefire line. The latest military advance has reignited regional tensions, drawing sharp rebukes from Beirut and urgent appeals from Paris for international intervention. At the center of this escalation is a centuries-old fortress now transformed into a symbol of the widening conflict. Rahul Upadhyay brings us more.
Israeli troops have seized the 900-year-old Beaufort Castle and the strategic ridge surrounding it in southern Lebanon, marking a significant advance against Hezbollah despite a ceasefire announced over 6 weeks ago. The Israeli military said the operation was aimed at securing Beaufort Ridge and the Wadi al-Saluki area while dismantling Hezbollah infrastructure allegedly set up with Iranian support. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Sunday that he had instructed the military to expand its control over areas previously held by Hezbollah.
Tonight, our heroic fighters captured the Beaufort outpost. They proudly raised the flag of the State of Israel and the flag of the Golan Bridge there. I instructed the IDF to expand the maneuver in Lebanon. Our force crossed the Litani River. They seized control areas. They occupied the Beaufort Ridge. And now my instruction is to deepen and expand our grip on the place that were under Hezbollah's control.
Lebanon's prime minister accused Israel of pursuing a scorched earth policy as its forces widened ground operations in the country. Meanwhile, France has called for an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council following reports that Israeli forces have taken control of the medieval Beaufort Castle in Lebanon. The capture of the medieval fortress comes despite the ceasefire and follows sustained Hezbollah rocket attacks on northern Israel. The Israeli military said the operation is intended to weaken Hezbollah's military presence and deny the group access to key strategic terrain. Lebanon's prime minister condemned the move, calling it part of Israel's expanding military campaign. One Israeli soldier was killed in the operation, the military confirmed. There were no immediate comments from Lebanon or Hezbollah. The capture deepens Israel's footprint in Lebanon, even as a parallel ceasefire holds in the wider Iran war. Hezbollah entered the US-Israeli war against Iran on 2nd March, firing rockets and drones into Israel. Israel responded by pushing the militia away from its northern border. The Beaufort Castle now provides Israeli troops a vantage point over southern Lebanon and northern Israel, from which attacks have previously been launched. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
A blast on Sunday at a building in northeastern Myanmar, said to have been storing explosives for mining, has killed more than 45 people, according to rescue workers and independent media reports. About 70 other people were injured in the explosion that took place around noon local time in the village of Komtuk in Nam Kham Township. The area, located about 3 kilometers south of the Chinese border, is under the control of the Tang National Liberation Army, an ethnic armed group which has engaged in sporadic fighting against Myanmar's government. A drone hit the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Russian-occupied Ukraine. The International Atomic Energy Agency's chief, Rafael Grossi, has expressed concern over the attack. Russian media carried a statement from state-owned nuclear power firm Rosatom, accusing Ukraine of a deliberate attack, a claim strongly denied by Kyiv. Close to the front line in southern Ukraine, Zaporizhzhia is the biggest nuclear power plant in Europe. Moscow and Kyiv have repeatedly accused each other of risking a nuclear catastrophe with attacks since it was captured by Russia's forces in 2022. As Ebola cases surge, a Kenya court's decision to halt a US-backed quarantine plan has drawn sharp reactions in Nairobi. While some citizens welcomed the move, others called it a missed opportunity for the country to lead in regional health response. Adamya Mishra reports.
As Ebola outbreak continues, the Kenyan High Court has temporarily blocked the establishment of a 50-bed facility at a Kenyan Air Force base that was intended to host Americans exposed to Ebola. The US says the move is aimed at preventing Ebola cases from entering its borders and has pledged $13.5 million to support Kenya's preparedness efforts. The proposal comes as an Ebola outbreak in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda has recorded over 1,000 cases and at least 246 deaths, with experts warning the true numbers may be higher. The World Health Organization is intensifying efforts to contain the outbreak. WHO Director General Tedros traveled to the eastern province of Ituri on Saturday, where the outbreak has emerged as one of the largest, fastest-growing Ebola epidemics in the country's history. During his visit, Tedros met local authorities and health officials before addressing the media.
This outbreak is caused by the Bundibugyo virus, for which no licensed vaccine or treatment currently exists. But this is not without hope. Ebola caused by the Bundibugyo virus can be survived with good medical care, and some people here in Ituri have already recovered. Seeking care early makes a real difference.
The outbreak, caused by the rare Bundibugyo strain of the Ebola virus, is now the 17th Ebola outbreak recorded in Democratic Republic of Congo. Unlike previous Ebola outbreaks, there is still no approved vaccine or treatment for this new Ebola strain. As the Ebola outbreak continues to test health systems across Central and East Africa, the race is now between the virus and containment efforts. As WHO steps up surveillance, the coming weeks could be crucial in determining whether the outbreak could be stopped before it spreads further. With camera person Manoj, this is Adam M. Mishra for DD India.
And still to come on DD India Newshour. A look back at 12 years of the Modi government's policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism. Malta's Labour Party wins an unprecedented fourth consecutive term in office.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
Exactly what you save your.
You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Prime Minister Modi praised athletes and highlighted India's cultural heritage in his monthly radio broadcast on Sunday. He encouraged citizens to stay healthy, explore hobbies, and engage with science and astronomy.
Prime Minister shared his thoughts with fellow countrymen in the latest edition of Mann Ki Baat program on Sunday and urged everyone to celebrate every effort, inspire each other, and contribute to the nation's progress. He lauded the athletes who took part in the National Senior Athletics Federation competition held in Ranchi and showcased incredible talent and determination. He highlighted India's growing prominence in athletics as the event saw 4 national records broken in 4 different categories. He called them an inspiration for young sports enthusiasts nationwide.
महज 2 दिनों के भीतर मेंस 100 मीटर रेस में नेशनल रिकॉर्ड 3 बार टूटा। जिन दो एथलीट्स ने ये कमाल दिखाया है वे हैं गुरिंदरवीर सिंह और अनिमेश कुजूर। आप लोगों ने जो स्पर्धा की है ना, वो देश का मान बढ़ाने के लिए की है। मैं मानता हूं कि आपका ये जो स्पोर्ट्समैन स्पिरिट है, खेलना भी है, एक दूसरे को चुनौती भी देना है और फिर आगे जाने के लिए एक दूसरे की मदद करना है, ये अद्भुत काम किया है आप लोगों ने।
On the issue of growing heat across the country, Prime Minister urged countrymen to take care of their health in such weather. He advised people to exercise precaution and asked to follow the guidelines issued by various government departments in this regard.
हमारे यहाँ गर्मी से लड़ने का तरीका कई बार रसोई में भी मिलता है। आपने भी देखा होगा, जैसे जैसे गर्मी बढ़ती है वैसे वैसे घर की रसोई का स्वाद बदल जाता है, रसोई का प्रकार बदल जाता है। कहीं मटके का पानी निकल आता है, कहीं दही जमने लगता है, तो कहीं कच्चे आम उबलने लगते हैं और फिर शुरू होता है देसी पेय का दौर।
Prime Minister said during his recent visit to the Netherlands and Europe, ancient copper plates from the Chola period were returned to India and described that a moment of pride. These include 21 large and 3 small copper plates. They primarily relate to King Rajendra Chola I, fulfilling a vow made by his father, King Raja Chola. They mention the donation of the village of Anai Mangalam to a Buddhist monastery.
साथियों, इन ताम्र पट्टिकाओं को लेकर लोगों में काफी जिज्ञासा भी है। इसलिए आज मैं इससे जुड़ी कुछ बातें आपसे साझा करना चाहता हूं। इनमें 21 बड़ी और 3 छोटी ताम्र पट्टिकाएं हैं। ये मुख्य रूप से राजा राजेंद्र चोला प्रथम द्वारा अपने पिता राजा राजा चोला के एक वचन को पूरा करने से जुड़ी है। इनमें आनाई मंगलम गांव को एक बौद्ध विहार को दान देने का उल्लेख है। इन ताम्र पट्टिकाओं में चोला वंश की उपलब्धियों का भी वर्णन मिलता है। इनसे पता चलता है कि चोला साम्राज्य की समुद्री शक्ति कितनी मजबूत थी। चोला साम्राज्य के समृद्ध इतिहास और संस्कृति पर हम सभी को बहुत गर्व है।
Prime Minister also shared his thoughts on growing curiosity around astronomy. He said it has inspired exploration and a lot of enthusiasm is visible in today's youth. He urged everyone to take out time for hobby and urged youth to join an astronomy club and visit a planetarium during these holidays.
हमारे देश में आज भी सदियों पुरानी ऑब्जर्वेटरीज मौजूद है। यहाँ अद्भुत मैथमेटिकल डिस्कवरीज हुई है। नेविगेशन हो, पंचांग हो या हमारे पर्व त्योहार, इन सब का संबंध आकाश और तारों से रहा है। हमारे यहाँ एस्ट्रोनॉमी ने हर पीढ़ी में कौतूहल जगाया है, उसे एक्सप्लोरेशन के लिए प्रेरित किया है और आज के युवाओं में भी इसे लेकर काफी उत्साह दिखाई देता है।
Prime Minister said while recognizing goodness around, one must support those making a difference and take part in building a stronger, better India. Bureau Report, DD India.
Prime Minister Modi spoke about inspiring stories of environmental conservation and community service in his monthly radio broadcast on Sunday. From the rescue of a gangetic dolphin in Uttar Pradesh and efforts to clean a polluted river to a citizen-led initiative addressing water scarcity in Goa, the Prime Minister showcased how determination and collective action are creating positive change.
In the Mann Ki Baat program, Prime Minister Narendra Modi highly praised the patience and efforts of some people working towards saving and conserving the existence of dolphins in the Ganga River. The Prime Minister urged the people of the country to watch the related video. He said that you will be surprised to know that the entire effort took about 13 hours and finally the dolphin was saved.
भारत की पहली गंगा डॉल्फिन रेस्क्यू एम्बुलेंस की ये घटना उत्तर प्रदेश की है। वहां एक गंगा डॉल्फिन नहर में फंस गई थी। ऐसे समय में नमामि गंगे अभियान के तहत बनी ये एम्बुलेंस उसके लिए उम्मीद बनकर पहुंची। फिर बहुत सावधानी से उसे बाहर निकाला गया, उसकी जांच की गई, उसका इलाज किया गया और उसके बाद उसे सुरक्षित राप्ती नदी में छोड़ दिया गया। एक तरह से कहें तो एक जीवन फिर अपने घर लौट गया। जब हम गंगा डॉल्फिन को बचाते हैं तो हम सिर्फ एक प्रजाति को नहीं बचाते, हम गंगा की जैव विविधता को बचाते हैं, नदी के पूरे जीवन तंत्र को बचाते हैं और अपनी आने वाली पीढ़ियों के लिए प्रकृति की एक अमूल्य धरोहर भी बचाते हैं।
The Prime Minister appreciated the efforts of local people in Basti district of Uttar Pradesh to clean and make the Manorama River free from accumulated dirt and pollution.
बस्ती के आकाश गुप्ता अपने गांव की मनोरमा नदी को देखकर बहुत दुखी होते थे, क्योंकि जिस नदी को उन्होंने बचपन में साफ और जीवन देखा था, समय के साथ उस नदी में प्लास्टिक जमा होने लगा था, गंदगी बढ़ती चली जा रही थी। श्रीमान आकाश ने तय किया कि शिकायत नहीं करेंगे, एक नई शुरुआत करेंगे। शिकायत नहीं, शुरुआत मंत्र बन गया। उन्होंने अपने दोस्तों को साथ लिया। सिर्फ जाल था, फावड़ा था, टोकरी थी और सबसे बड़ी ताकत थी कुछ बदलने का संकल्प। एक दिन में 50-60 किलो तक कचरा नदी से निकाला गया। धीरे धीरे मनोरमा नदी का वह हिस्सा फिर से साफ दिखने लगा।
Prime Minister Modi praised the efforts of retired Goa teacher Balkrishna Iyer for resolving the water problem.
गोवा के बाल कृष्ण अय्या जी रिटायर्ड टीचर हैं, लेकिन समाज के लिए काम करने का उनका उत्साह आज भी वैसा ही है। उन्हें मड्डी तोलाब इलाके में पानी की समस्या बहुत परेशान करती थी। उन्होंने भी समाधान के लिए काम शुरू किया। बालकृष्ण जी ने पाइपलाइन बिछाने के काम में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई। इससे कई घरों तक पानी पहुंचा। जिन परिवारों को पानी के लिए रोज संघर्ष करना पड़ता था, उनके लिए यह बहुत बड़ी राहत बनी।
Through the Mann Ki Baat program, Prime Minister Narendra Modi often highlights inspiring life journeys from villages and cities across the country that contribute to improving society. By mentioning them, these efforts and the spirit behind them are encouraged to move forward. The Prime Minister appealed to people to also connect with such initiatives happening around them and work towards the progress of society and the nation. Bureau Report, DD India.
From the moment he took office in 2014, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made it very clear terrorism will not be tolerated at any cost. We take a look at how the Modi government has rewritten the rules of engagement with Operation Sindoor. In 2014, Prime Minister Modi drew a hard line in the sand, establishing a strict zero-tolerance policy towards terrorism. Exactly 1 year ago, following the massacre of 26 tourists by Pakistani terrorists in Pahalgam, that policy manifested as a devastating military reality. The nation demanded justice and the state delivered a calibrated masterclass in retribution. Vishal Barristow has more.
Will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backers.
Under Operation Sindoor, India not only delivered a crushing response to Pakistan across economic, political, diplomatic and military fronts, but also demonstrated once again to the entire world that Bharat stands resolute in its policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism. Launched on the intervening night of May 6th and 7th, Operation Sindoor saw Indian Army strike and completely obliterate 9 terrorist hideouts located within Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. This military action by the Indian Army resulted in the elimination of over 100 terrorists. The Indian Air Force targeted key Pakistani installations including the Noor Khan and Sargodha air bases, sending an unequivocal message that no terrorist sanctuary within Pakistan lies beyond India's reach.
It was very strong political will, extraordinary resolve to really inflict the kind of damage on these terror hubs and their backers, and something that was a clear message to the backers in Pakistan and to the world in general that this is how we will deal with terror. Thereafter, 9th and 10th, what you saw when 11 bases were attacked by Air Force in terms of precision weapons, every base target was hit, all attacks were successful, and the kind of damage, the kind of airfield struck, length and width of Pakistan, you take Sargodha, you take Noor Khan, you take Jacobabad, Bolari, these are very heavily defended and very vital targets for Pakistan Air Force and Pakistan Defence as such. So overall, I think that indicated the kind of targeting that was done and successful.
Operation Sindoor was a highly successful, precise and calibrated military operation executed by the Indian Armed Forces, which effectively shattered the enemy's morale. It served to underscore the professional prowess, operational readiness and synchronized strength of our armed forces. Paying tribute to this act of military valor, Prime Minister Modi, while addressing the nation from the ramparts of the Red Fort on August 15, 2025, began his speech by first saluting the heroes of Operation Sindoor.
मुझे बहुत गर्व हो रहा है आज मुझे लाल किले की प्राचीर से ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के वीर जाबाजों को सैल्यूट करने का अवसर मिला है। हमारे वीर जाबाज सैनिकों ने दुश्मनों को उनकी कल्पना से परे सजा दी।
Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the success of Operation Sindoor stands as a tangible testament to India's growing self-reliance in defense and the fortified strength of its national security. The abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty is another resolve of the Modi government that blood and water shall not flow together.
देश का अहित करने वाला ये समझौता अब इस रूप में आगे नहीं चल सकता। भारत ने तय कर दिया है खून और पानी साथ साथ नहीं बह सकते।
But it was not the first time in the last 12 years that India had crossed the LOC to punish state-sponsored terrorism. Following the terrorist attack on an army camp in Uri on September 18, 2016, the Indian Army's Para-Special Forces conducted a precise ground-based operation on September 29th, crossing the line of control to neutralize several terrorist launch pads in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Nearly 3 years later, in response to the Pulwama terrorist attack, the Indian Air Force executed the Balakot airstrike on February 26, 2019. In this non-military preemptive action, Mirage 2000 fighter jets crossed the international border to strike a major Jaish-e-Mohammed training camp in Balakot, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. In the face of terror, the country stands tall and speaks with strength. Any threat to national security is now dealt with immediate and decisive action because this is New Bharat. So enemy, beware. Vishal Baristo for DD India, Delhi.
General N.S. Raja Subramani took charge as Chief of Defence Staff on Sunday. He received a ceremonial Guard of Honour at South Block. General Subramani becomes the country's top military officer. He succeeds General Anil Chauhan. General Subramani is a former Vice Chief of Army Staff and military advisor at the National Security Council Secretariat. Admiral Krishna Swaminathan assumed charge as the Indian Navy Chief. He succeeds Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi. Admiral Swaminathan was accorded a ceremonial Guard of Honor at South Block. Admiral Swaminathan said his appointment as the 27th Chief of the Naval Staff is the highest honor and privilege of his life, and he would serve the nation with humility, responsibility and gratitude. He said maintaining the Indian Navy's operational readiness and combat effectiveness would be his topmost priority while advancing force modernization and induction of emerging technologies. The island nation of Malta has recorded a historic election result, with the Labour Party securing an unprecedented fourth consecutive term in office. Outgoing Prime Minister Robert Abela led the party to victory. Ballot scanning commenced on Sunday morning local time, and initial tallies indicated a clear and sustained lead for the Labour Party. Following the announcement, celebrations were reported across the island, with fireworks observed in many towns. And still to come on DD India Newshour. An expert take on the Iran war as it enters day 93. More on that after the break.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Right, going back to the top story we are tracking here on DD India Newshour, the ongoing Iran war and its impact on India and the world at large. Joining us is Professor Kinvrat Jangid. He is with the O.P. Jindal University. Professor, welcome to DD India Newshour. Now, to begin with, Trump has sent a revised proposal to Iran with tougher terms. Although its details have not been disclosed, reports suggest that the US is seeking stronger guarantees on Iran's nuclear program and enriched uranium stockpile. Now, is that one of the many specific concessions that the US is trying to extract from Tehran before signing off on a peace deal? And more importantly, do you think Iran will relent?
Thank you, Ramesh. This is indeed the deep and an old sore wound. Iranian nuclear program is the sole, let's say, contested fight between America and Iran for more than 2 decades. And yes, he wants two kind of guarantees, as we understand. One is to extract enriched uranium out of Iran, not into the hands of America, but to somebody else's hands, maybe Pakistan. Second, to seek a 20-year cap on the Iranian nuclear program.
Why Pakistan, Professor?
For 2 reasons. Iran will not hand it over to America. That's for sure. That would be too much of a victory for Trump to...
Fair enough.
Arab countries have already burnt their fingers with Iran. Iran has attacked them, and that's the reason Pakistan is the mediator, not Qatar. If you remember, before 28th of February, it was Qatar and Oman that were mediating for America. And now, because Iran attacked these many countries, they are really not in a position to earn that kind of a trust with Iranians. They are working as a leverage, against Iran with the US. So I assume if the extraction will happen, then the interim custody will go to Pakistan by all likelihood. So I think Trump is trying to get there because that's where all of his Republican base is going to consider this war and its exit respectful. Remember, in the last 1 month when he was agreeing to just opening of the Hormuz and not talking about the nuclear issues right now, most of the coverage in America and some of the Republicans came out in public and said this would be a shame. This is worse than a defeat, meaning why not to sign no deal? And such a bad deal is a shame for America to have. So I think he's trying to save his public face within America's constituency.
Fair enough. The other outstanding issue, Professor, is that Iranian state media claims that a draft memorandum includes the release of $12 billion in frozen assets, which the US previously dismissed. So are sanctions relief and access to frozen assets a hard red line for Iran to continue negotiations?
Indeed, and I think those are respectable deals, point of deals from the Iranians, because this is the Iranian money. If we consider the last 15 years of the American diplomacy, it has been a diplomacy of sanctions after sanctions against Iran, and freezing Iranian assets in different parts of the world. So I think those kind of economic choke points, Iran is at least confident that they can get concessions from America, because they would agree to, let's say, maybe not 20 years of a limit on the nuclear deals, maybe 5 years. But the freezing of the assets is not much of a public loss of the face for Trump or Israel. For Trump, it's opening of the Hormuz and capping the nuclear program. For Israel, it includes also Lebanon and what happens to Hezbollah.
Indeed. Now, the US military, meanwhile, has just disabled a blockade-running cargo vessel in the Gulf of Oman. So how close are we to seeing this US naval enforcement trigger a direct conventional military clash between American and Iranian forces? In other words, could the 60-day truce be on the verge of collapse even before it is signed?
You're right. It looks like every day an engagement. They do engage, let's say, with those speedboats, one missile, on American, forces. But I do understand that they exercise far more restrained than given to the escalation. Both parties understand, and I think this is a known tactic in a war kind of a situation, that these would be at the end of the day called war shots, warning shots. And I think so far we don't see escalation resulting into any kind of a further engagement. And let's also understand the bottom line. It's understood now by all means that Trump has no interest in restarting the war with Iran. 3 weeks back, Israel really insisted, they were already prepared, but Trump really told no for the attacks. So I think he understands that that's almost a given deal, and that's why Iran is so much holding on to its bargain, because it knows that America is not going to come back to war the way it did for the first 40 days from 28th of February.
Right. Now let's talk a bit, if you will, Professor, about the economic impact on India and the world at large. Iranian lawmakers, we are told, are considering a legislation to formalize Tehran's management of the Strait of Hormuz, but with major energy companies refusing to pay Iran's transit tolls and fertilizer prices spiking by almost 50%. How much longer do you think can the global economy sustain Iran's tight restrictions on this strategic waterway?
Well, India and rest of the Asian markets will not sustain. They will bear the cost. in a way, we have, in India, we have already started rising the prices of oil products. Iranian nationalization of the Hormuz, when they pass such a legislature, they would virtually say it's a national territory. This will be a huge diplomatic mess for the rest of the world to deal with. And not easy for Iran, by the way, because then Iran is declaring almost an economic war upon the rest of the world. Because it defeats the logic of the international norms, but it also defeats the norms of the international trade. I think this nationalization also harms the Arab states and Oman particularly, because Oman shares the passage. So I think there are many roadblocks, but I do think Iranians are still walking on this path, will pass the legislation. You know what? Because it will earn them much greater political sloganeering within the Iranian domestic political ecosystem, where they will say, look, we could now declare Hormuz as ours. Practically, as you said, many pressure points like international oil market, energy companies will negotiate a different kind of a strategy with Iran later on, and Iran will give in to those demands as well. Because Iran doesn't want to end up to be a pariah state. In any case, in the region, it's a pariah state. But by doing this, it can really cut itself from the, let's say, European markets and international markets.
Right.
Another point which is very important, which has been talked in many energy scenarios, that much of the dependence on Hormuz for the gas and oil can be killed in another year and a half or two. That the Gulf countries will now use the pipes and they will not depend on Hormuz after 2 years. They will invest all their resources to channel their gas and oil through pipes and not through ships.
Right. And now I want to ask you about another theater of conflict, which I believe would be closer to your area of interest in particular. Professor, do you think Israel's military occupation of Lebanon is compounding or complicating matters for a potential US-Iran peace deal?
It is. And it is complicating Israel's own national security. Israel occupied the Be'er fort, the picture that you are showing right now. It's a very famous fort. There's a beautiful Israeli film called Be'er Fort, came up in the early 2001, which captured the whole nostalgia and the disillusionment of the Israeli capture of the Be'er Fort. And Israeli capture of the Be'er Fort was there for 18 years. Israel went to south of Lebanon in 1982 and walked out of south of Lebanon in the year 2000. In those 18 years, holding on to these territories didn't bring any better national deterrence against Hezbollah. So I think Israel is in a very bad diplomatic and strategic space right now, because Trump is keeping Israel out of the these current ceasefire negotiations. Iran is acting with kind of a leverage that doesn't serve Israeli concerns. So Israel is acting unilaterally with the blessings of Donald Trump, because he can't put them on the table, but he's letting them to defend their north, which is in a miserable condition. Imagine more than 100,000 Israelis are evacuated from the north of Israel. They are living actually life of the refugees within Israel. So Israel is in a very, very bad, let's say, a strategic dilemma where they need to really figure out how will they deal with Lebanon.
Right. So I'm afraid that's all we have time for. I will have to leave it at that. Professor Jangid, may I thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts, your perspectives with our viewers in India and around the world. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Let's get you some more news here on DD India Newshour. The Rohingya refugee response in Bangladesh has entered what the UN Refugee Agency calls a fragile phase, marked by declining international funding, worsening camp conditions and growing protection concerns nearly a decade after the mass exodus from Myanmar. Presenting the 2026 update of the Joint Response Plan, the UN and its humanitarian partners appealed for more than $700 million to support around 1.56 million Rohingya refugees and host community members. The UNHCR representative in Bangladesh warned that worsening camp conditions, rising risks and continued instability in Myanmar have pushed the response into a vulnerable phase. The warning comes amid growing concerns over the long-term sustainability of the humanitarian operation. Nearly 1.3 million stateless Rohingyas remain in Bangladesh with little prospect of returning to Myanmar, while livelihood opportunities inside the camps remain severely restricted. The latest appeal also highlights a broader challenge confronting the international community. Despite repeated calls for voluntary, safe and dignified repatriation, there's been little progress in creating conditions for the return of the Rohingyas to Myanmar. And still to come on DD India Newshour. The relics of Lord Buddha's chief disciples opened for public viewing in Mongolia. And four-time champion Iga Swiatek out of French Open. More on that after the break. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Thousands watched reverentially as the Gandan Monastery in Mongolia as the holy relics of Lord Buddha's chief disciples were opened for public viewing on Sunday. These sacred relics were flown from the UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Sanchi Stupa in Bhopal. DD India's Tanvi Taneja reports from Ulaanbaatar.
The day the sacred relics of Lord Buddha's disciples, Arihant Sariputta and Arihant Modagalyana, landed on the airstrip in Ulaanbaatar and were ceremoniously placed inside the monastery, hundreds of people lined up outside the Gandan monastery to catch a glimpse of them on Saturday. On Sunday, when the inauguration ceremony of the relics for the public began, an unprecedented influx of devotees could be seen as far as the eye could see. Chanting by the revered Buddhist lamas, both from Mongolia and India, reverberated in the monastery as thousands prayed in silence. Also, monks from Sri Lanka, Japan, South Korea and Thailand paid homage to these holy relics. Not just this, Cardinal Giorgio Marengo of the Catholic Church, representative of the Holy See in Mongolia, extended his greetings to the Buddhist community on the occasion. Mongolian President Uknagin Kurulsek expressed deep gratitude to India for sending these sacred holy relics of Lord Buddha's chief disciples to Ulaanbaatar. Through the message read out on the occasion, he highlighted that this initiative represents the profound spiritual and cultural bonds as well as the enduring spiritual sibling relationship between the two democratic countries. It was also informed by the Education Minister that an MOU between the Nalanda University in Bihar and the Gandan Monastery in Ulaanbaatar will be signed soon.
They, Sariputta and Mongolyana, are an epitome of how a disciplined student and disciple should conduct himself or herself and attain the zenith of success. They come from the place of Nalanda, which was a great learning center of Buddhism. Recently, the government of India has revived this university and hundreds of scholars are studying in this prestigious university. Very soon, an MOU between the Nalanda University and the Gandan Monastery is to be signed.
Also on Sunday, an exhibition titled Vessels of Light, Iconography, Relics and Path of Dhamma was inaugurated by Assam Governor Lakshman Prasad leading the Indian delegation. Devotees were allowed for the public veneration of these relics post 2 p.m. local time.
Today in Mongolia, in this monastery, there's an exposition of holy relics from India, and today we come to see. It's been really peaceful experience for me.
This isn't the first time the relics of Buddha's foremost disciples have travelled abroad. The holy relics of Arihant Sariputta and Arihant Modagalyana were taken to Thailand in 2024, and now their exposition in Mongolia on their Vesak day only strengthens the teachings of Buddha and the cultural and spiritual bond between India and Mongolia. Tanvi Taneja for DD India in Ulaanbaatar.
To sports news now, India's Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty scripted history at the Singapore Badminton Open by winning their maiden men's doubles crown on Sunday. It was a show of pure power, ultimate grit and skill as they came from behind to defeat the Indonesian pair in the final, ending a 2-year title drought.
India's star pair of Satvik Sairaj, Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty have added a new feather in their glittering careers. Satvik Chirag clinched their maiden men's doubles crown at Singapore Open Badminton Tournament, ending a 2-year title drought. The Indian duo fought back from a game down to defeat Indonesia's Fajar Alfian and Mohammad Shohibul Fikri 18-21, 21-17, 21-16 in the final. Satvik and Chirag had last lifted a trophy at the Thailand Open in 2024. Since then, they had reached multiple finals but finished runners-up on each occasion. The Asian Games and Commonwealth Games champions added their 9th career World Tour title and 3rd Super 750 crown. The triumph capped an impressive week for the Indian pair, who had stunned reigning world champions and top seed Kim Won-ho and Seo Song-jae in the semi-finals. Sports Desk, DD India.
And Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia congratulated Satvik and Chirag on the historic win. He said on X, and I quote him here, "A historic triumph for Indian badminton. Congratulations to Satvik and Chirag on winning the Singapore Open Super 750 title, ending a 2-year wait for a title and adding yet another glorious chapter to India's badminton journey," unquote. In cricket, Royal Challengers Bengaluru bowlers have put their team in the commanding position against Gujarat Titans in the Indian Premier League final in Ahmedabad. They restricted the opponents to a modest total of 155 runs for the loss of 8 wickets in the stipulated 20 overs. Gujarat Titans got off to a poor start as they lost their both openers for just 26 runs after they were asked to bat first. But Washington Sundar steadied the innings with a half-century. Rasik Salamdar was pick of the bowlers with 3 wickets, while Josh Hazlewood and Bhuvanesh Kumar took 2 scalps apiece. In reply, Royal Challengers Bengaluru were 9 runs without a loss of wicket. To tennis now, 4-time former champion Iga Swiatek endured a miserable birthday as she was eliminated from the French Open 4th round by Marta Kostyuk. The Polish 3rd seed went down 7-5, 6-1. Kostyuk moved into the quarterfinals at Roland Garros for the first time in her career. Swiatek will now go another year without the title she first won in 2020 and then 3 times consecutively between 2022 and 2024. With a 4th round exit, it was the joint worst performance at Roland Garros for the 25-year-old. In another match, Elina Svitolina fought from a set down to beat Belinda Bencic and stamp her ticket to the quarterfinals of the French Open. The 7th-seeded Ukrainian saw off the Swiss 4-6, 6-4, 6-0. Svitolina will face compatriot Kostyuk for a spot in the semi-finals. France arrested 780 people after overnight celebrations of Paris Saint-Germain's Champions League victory over Arsenal were marred by violent clashes and a road accident that killed a young man. Thousands of people poured into the streets of Paris for the match and to revel in PSG's triumph in the final held in Hungary's capital Budapest on Saturday. France's Interior Minister said 57 security personnel and 219 people were injured, including 8 seriously. And with that, it's a wrap. You can get the latest news on our mobile app on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.